Welcome to Hack the Entrepreneur, the show which reveals the fears, habits, and inner battles behind big-name entrepreneurs and those on their way to joining them. Now here is your host, John Naster.
Today's sponsor of Hack the Entrepreneur is Design Crowd, a website that helps startups and small businesses outsource or crowdsource custom graphics, logos, and web design from over 500,000 designers from around the world. Check out designcrowd.com/hack to learn more and receive a special $100 VIP offer when you start your next project. Or simply enter the discount code HACK when posting your next project on Design Crowd. That's designcrowd.com/hack. Hey, this is Hack the Entrepreneur. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm your host, John Naster, but you can call me Johnny. My guest today is a digital nomad, spending most of his time between Los Angeles, Manila, Bangkok, and Saigon. And he's a very, very smart entrepreneur. After starting, growing, and selling several businesses since 2010, my guest co-founded Empire Flippers in March of 2013. And so far, they have helped people buy and sell over $10 million worth of online businesses. In 2016, they placed number 161 on the Inc. 5000 list, with 2015 revenues of $4.7 million. Now, let's hack Justin Cooke. Before we get rolling here, I want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, Braintree. I know you remember the first dollar you made in business. It's a hard thing to forget. It's one of the greatest parts of being an entrepreneur. And now you want to grow until your business makes your millionth or billionth dollar. But have you found the right payments partner to grow with you? Braintree lets you accept every way to pay, from PayPal to Apple Pay and everything in between. All it takes is one simple integration. And it doesn't matter what currency your customers use, because Braintree lets you accept over 130 of them. To learn more about how you and your company can grow with Braintree, visit braintreepayments.com/hack. That's braintreepayments.com/hack. We are back with another episode of Hack the Entrepreneur, and today we have a very, very special guest. Justin, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, John. Appreciate it.
Absolutely my pleasure, and it's going to be a lot of fun, I can tell. Let's jump into it, Justin. Justin, as an entrepreneur, can you tell me what is the one thing that you do that you feel has been the biggest contributor to your successes so far?
So it's funny you asked the one thing, right? Because it's always like multiple things that I think really help you find some success. One of the things that we did that I thought was really unique in our space and in our industry was we saw that a lot of people it's a fragmented industry, right? A lot of our competitors don't really talk to each other, aren't terribly transparent about what they're doing in business. And so we took a different approach. We said, we were looking at people like Pat Flynn from Smart Passive Income and, what the Buffer guys are doing. And they do these kind of like monthly or quarterly reports and were very open about their numbers, about their company culture, about how they were growing their business. And we said, look, why don't we do that in our industry where everyone's kind of secretive? No one really talks to each other. So we said, look, we're going to take a transparent approach to our business and share the numbers and talk about what works and what doesn't. And I think that's been really helpful in, especially early on, like driving customers, attracting attention, and getting people kind of into our sphere, our business.
I love it. And it's weird. I never even really noticed that. But I think that's how I discovered you, was through those reports as well. So was there... Well, there must have been, but like, what was like your main sort of reluctance, right? So you are a co-founder, so you have a partner. Was there one of you that was like, yeah, Pat can do it because Pat runs a podcast, but we're we're in the business of brokering, so maybe we should not do that?
Yeah. So even today, our peers tell us, I can't believe you guys do that, or you should stop doing it now that you've grown. It's going to be a bigger risk for you. Your competitors are watching you. We get all this feedback, but it's similar to the feedback we heard early on. Now, we were lucky in that we had another business that was kind of paying the bills. So when we started kind of this online business that we have, it was a small thing. It wasn't much. So us being transparent wasn't a big deal. It wasn't very scary. Now, I wanted to try it. I thought we'd take a risk with it and try it out. My business partner, Joe, was not so hot on the idea. He was like, he's one of those guys that, says, look, if business is going well, don't change anything. Don't tell anyone. Just kind of like secretly behind the scenes, keep chugging through it and making money. And I said, look, we've got an opportunity here to just try it. And, now that we've done it, he would agree that we would never go back to not being transparent, to not, opening the kimono, so to speak. But yeah, early on, it was a little scarier. And we still feel the pressure from people today saying, what are you doing? You should stop at some point. You should hold some things back. And, I'm not sure about that. Every time we either do our reports or we talk about something scary that's happened in our business or risky, and we feel like, oh, should we really talk about that? Those are the things that really resonate with our audience. So, it's just more proof that we need to keep going forward.
Yeah, I love it. And I mean, it's obviously really helpful that it's exciting times for you. You guys have been at it for quite a few years, but your growth is like exponential still. I think I just saw Dan Norris on Twitter comment to somebody, because somebody was asking like why they don't do reports, the income reports on WP Curve. And he was like, well, kind of stopped being exciting when the growth stopped being exponential and we just kind of, this is what we do now every month. And that kind of makes sense, right? So do you think that if that happens, you're going to be like, well, it's not really super exciting for people anymore and it's kind of a lot of work?
Yeah, it is a lot of work. That's a good point. And actually, I'm way behind. We do them quarterly, so it's a little bit better than monthly. And I'm a little behind on our last quarter. So, I say this and I'm like, we're so transparent. And I'm like 2 months late on our quarterly report. So I'm not sure how well that plays. But, I don't know. Like if you're showing, look, we grew 20% over last year, like the numbers are kind of boring, right? But I think it's an interesting thing to talk about, the transition from like a high growth, entrepreneurial venture to one that's kind of like leveling off and becoming a more stable trajectory or growth. I think that's super interesting to talk about. So a lot of our reports are not just the numbers, but also kind of like what we're going through behind the scenes. And I think there's still interesting content to be done there. Like talk about why you're not growing the way that you were before, or how it's, it's riskier to make the big moves. So instead you're looking for the like tweaks. Like I'll take a 20% boost this year instead of a big risk to double. You know what I mean? Like why do you want to do that? I think that's really interesting to other entrepreneurs, to other, to your customers, to everyone that's kind of in your audience.
That's true. That's very true. So you said when you started Empire Flippers that you guys already had a business that was producing money and revenue. So you weren't worried about being profitable right away. But I don't even think that was your first business, right? So you've been at this game sort of for quite a while now, Justin. And I know going through it in life, we don't always sort of make the connections until looking back, but there seems to be this time. So if you could look back in every entrepreneur's life when they've realized one of two things, that either they had this calling to make this huge difference in the world, or as most of my guests seem to say, that they just found out they couldn't work for somebody else. So could you kind of take us back to when you discovered this about yourself and then tell me which side of the fence you see yourself on?
Yeah, so there was a point in our career. Joe and I had a mortgage company years ago, and this was right before the crash. We were in California, so that didn't go very well in like 2007-ish, 2008. And so when the crash hit, our mortgage business went bust effectively, and I had to go work a job. So I signed on as a mid-level manager at an SEO company. My business partner today didn't start there, but I ended up bringing him in. So we were working as middle management for this SEO company, and it was kind of a nice break for us in that as entrepreneurs, you have to wear many hats. You have to wear all the hats, actually. And we had other people in this kind of like larger company that were supporting us and doing other things. We did that for a couple of years. It was kind of a rebound period, I guess. And after we'd kind of got some stability there and felt a little more comfortable, we, got to take the next step and again, start a new business again together. So I think from our perspective, that kind of like, having a business fail on us and then having going through the emotional struggles that happen with a failed business and then being able to bounce back and take another stab at it. I think that was really important for us is to get back on the horse after a couple of years and start another business again together. I think if we wouldn't have done that, we probably would have been stuck working, many years for multiple companies.
Okay. So you, rather than letting that sort of inertia of just like, okay, now we're stopped and not in business for ourselves, you kind of like, we got to get back on. We got to do this again.
Yeah, we got to get back at it. And then, after we had other failures, we started an outsourcing company and with our previous employer. So we basically outsourced ourselves from that job and moved to the Philippines from California, started running a Philippines corporation that we had set up. And, we had a no-cut contract with them, and it was like a 3-year contract. And within 3 years, they started to cut back. It was the first year they started cutting back on us, our pay, on their team. So, it was a bit of a struggle, and we went through some hard times again. But I think having already had a business that failed, like we were in a much better position and set ourselves up, to where we were looking for other clients. We knew that no matter how bad it gets, even if our company fails, we're going to find a way out of it. So I think we felt safer about being risky and really taking a stab at it.
I love it. I love it. So the Philippines move, was that for like economic reasons and getting started, or was there other callings for you?
Yeah, we'd already set up a team outsource. So Joe and I, mid-level managers in the US for the SEO company, and we were hiring people right and left. That company was growing really quickly. So we were hiring people in the US, and we said, look, from our previous mortgage company, we had a virtual assistant, and this is like pre-Odesk, like most people working with VAs, but we had a virtual assistant in the Philippines, and she was fantastic. And we said, look, why don't we start to put together a team over there that can do a lot of this like back office work? And they said, sure. So we hired our previous girl, who then hired a few more people. So we went out to visit her. She was in the Philippines. She had a team of people. And when we got to her house, we looked around, and she actually had a bunch of people crammed into what I can only describe as like a closet. So she had like a closet and like a fan blowing on them. They were sitting in plastic chairs, and we were like, oh my God, we're actually running a sweatshop. Like, this is, when you hear about sweatshops and like people, having teams of people working in closets, like this is exactly what we had. We said, oh my God, we need to fix this. We need to get like a real office and get a setup here. So rather than just having the company we worked for do that, we had the bright idea of saying, look, why don't we set all this up for you? You can become customers of ours, and we can set up an outsourcing company, basically. And so we pitched our CEO, CFO, and they went for it. So we ended up outsourcing ourselves, setting up the office in the Philippines, and starting our journey in Asia, basically.
That's awesome. And I mean, once you've already started a sweatshop, I mean, you can only go up from there. So
yeah, that was as bad as it got. Like the plastic chairs. Yeah, there's like tables. Literally, there were pit tables, and people had computers whirring in there. They had fans. She put in like one of those swamp coolers, and it was bad. So we're like, no, we need to fix this. Let's come out here. We'll get a real operation set up, and that's when we got the office and started setting everything up in the Philippines.
Nice. I love it. Okay, so Justin, at the beginning, you said that it's the different approach is your one thing. The fact of the transparency within your marketplace, which no one had done. You feel like it's kind of the cause for your growth. Now, every business expert today talks about the 80-20 rule in business. So you're supposed to do 20% of the work, get 80% of the results, do what you're good at, and delegate the rest. Justin, can you tell me something that you are absolutely not good at in your business?
Yeah, something that I'm not good at. I would say I'm really good at kind of setting up, like I'm good at testing different new revenue streams, projects, that kind of thing. I'm not great at automating them or putting processes in place to scale. That's really something that my business partner is great at. So I'll do the kind of the initial testing and see whether it's going to work, whether it's a winner, whether it's a loser. And then once I've done that, then he'll sit down with me and try to like extrapolate what I did to make it successful so that we can start to scale it with our team.
Wow, that's cool. I mean, it seemed like with the outsourcing that would have been your thing. So did you know this? Like, did you know this when you became partners with Joe, that you guys were sort of like opposites in this way? And was that part of your choice?
Yeah, it was. I mean, we have a different kind of partnership, and partnerships are super interesting to talk about. Probably for your listeners, like we have a partnership where we're 50-50 on everything. It's like a marriage. So any business we do, we're both involved in. Like we don't have other interests or other businesses that we're involved in. This is it. This is kind of everything. And we did that because we've been doing business for more than a decade together. We've done a lot of business together. And so we kind of know how each other work and what kind of our skill sets are. So I know that he's particularly good at designing processes and kind of like thinking problems through, thinking processes through, figuring out how many people are needed. And so that's one of the reasons I think we were moderately successful with our outsourcing company, was he brought that to the table, whereas I kind of brought the marketing and the content marketing that brought the clients in. So yeah, I mean, those are definitely skill sets and we grew up in our 20s in terms of our business experiences, kind of with the same skill sets. Like we both did the mortgage business, we did sales together. We both had kind of the same operational experiences, but over the last few years, I've noticed we've diverged because as you grow, you need to focus on different areas and aspects of your business, right? And so you have to have some specificity, some speciality. And so we've kind of like let each other grow in different directions to the benefit of our business.
Oh, I love it. And so it's interesting when you talk about it like a marriage. And so, I mean, you guys have come a friggin' long ways from where you started, right? Like, I mean, probably beyond where you expected, or not beyond, but probably you couldn't have imagined what business you would be in and where. So are there times, like, do you guys sit down and like kind of figure out what you think each of you would need to learn, like the next skill set to take you to that next level? And then, okay, let's each go in that. Or is it just kind of organically happen?
We've had those conversations. I wouldn't say like it's a kind of a weekly or even a monthly conversation. Like, what skill sets do we need to learn now? But we have, I'll give you one example. There was a point at which, this is a few years ago, where neither of us are developers. And we said, look, should one of us learn how to code? Like, would there be real value in us? And this isn't a short-term gain. We're going to get nothing out of that in 6 or 12 months. But 3 years from now, would there be value in one of us sitting down and learning how to code? And we ended up being so busy with our business that we said, yes, it'd be valuable, but we just can't do it. We need to focus on growth and other things in our business. Looking back at it and all the money we've spent on developers, on development teams since then, and all the mistakes we've made, like maybe that would have been a good move for one of us to do it. I can't say, but yeah, I mean, we do kind of have those conversations. Like, are there things we need to get good at? And another example I'll give you is we have a distributed team, meaning our management team is normally in Southeast Asia, but really anywhere in the world. They travel, they live one place for a month or a week, and then they move to the next spot. But every 3 to 4 months, we get our management team together. So it's me, Joe, and the other 4 guys that are on our management team. We all get together in, let's say, Saigon, Vietnam, or we get together in, Phuket, Thailand, and we work together for a month, and we work together in kind of close quarters. And what I'm finding is every 3 or 4 months, I'll meet with Joe, my business partner, and I'll hear him on the phone, or I kind of hear his like sales pitch, or he's on a call with, one of our buyers and sellers, like on a buyer-seller call. And I'll hear kind of like him getting better and better at some of those calls. I'm like, wow, it's really interesting because it's been 3 or 4 months. It's interesting to hear like his skills improve over time.
That's cool. How many people are on your team entirely at this point?
So we've got 12 people in the Philippines that generally handle our customer support. They handle migrations. We buy and sell websites, so they help kind of transfer the site from the seller to the buyer. And then we have 6 of us on our management team. That'd be Joe and I. And then we have a sales guy, Mike, we have an operations guy, and then 2 marketing guys. So we're looking to add 2 more in the very near future. We're going to bring on some basically sales role where they're onboarding, helping us deal with convert, potential customers into actual customers. So we're going to bring them on and probably have them start by the end of the year.
Nice. I love it. So it's like 18 people at this point, 18, 20 people.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
Yeah, man. Started off just the 2 of us. So yeah, it's been quite a bit of growth.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. It's really cool. So let's move to projects if we can, Justin. Projects is a really loose term, but any sort of new venture within your existing company that you guys want to take on, any new project. I'd like to know with you personally, like whether you said that you're kind of really good at the testing and like trying out new, so this is probably your realm, but is it an internal gut process or is it a written process you go through right now to determine when a project is worth not only your time, but now also your team's time, energy, and resources?
Yeah, that's interesting. So if you're going to turn your whole team or your company onto a new project, like there's a lot of opportunity cost in doing that. There's just a lot of time that it takes, and like what are you missing out on by having to not focus on other areas of your business? So we're pretty careful on taking on new projects or testing through new projects. So I tend to, and this is a bit of a complaint for with Joe and I, where we go, sometimes we complain to each other that we're a little slow to move on things. But I think it's also because we tend to mull things over for a bit and try to determine whether that's really a good move or not. So let's say that it's been, a month or two, I've been kind of considering a new project, wanting to test out a new project, and I finally get around to like running with it, right? So I test it out. Let's say, for example, we've got an investment fund we were looking to do, right? It was something I was not sure whether we're going to do and put together. And then I started actually looking into it and started to kind of like test through it, see if the market was open to it, see if we could set it up. And, at some point you have to cut the project loose or you have to really go for it. And so we'll, in our quarterly meetups, when we get together every 3 to 4 months, that's what kind of the time frame we use to either drop projects or to double down on projects or tests that we think are successful. So we kind of go through each other's lists and say, oh, you're working on this. What do you think? Yeah, it's a loser. I need to get rid of it. I'm doing this thing. I don't think this is going to pan out, or I don't feel good about it. I don't think the return is worth it. Oh, but this one I'm testing through is fantastic. We should double down. Well, how do we do that? Who do we put on it? That kind of thing. So yeah, we allow each other room to grow and test different projects or tests out, but then we get together every 3 or 4 months and just chop the ones that don't seem to be effective.
Nice. So I'm assuming that you use sort of like the iterative process. Like if you, Justin, come up with an idea and you put it out there and it's not quite working, you'll iterate at least for that 3 or 4 months until the next meeting, and then make the decision like, okay, no, I've iterated enough. It's just not going to work. Yeah,
maybe. It depends, because you always have to, let's say you have another new potential project to work on, and you're like, I did one iteration of this project, and should I pivot it a little bit? Should I make slight changes to it and see if I can salvage it? Or does this other one have a bigger opportunity? And, with our business, like there are opportunities that we're not capitalizing all the time. So sometimes the thing you haven't tested or tried out may be the bigger opportunity, and it's worth not even continuing, right? So I don't buy the sunk cost that some entrepreneurs get into. They're like, I already invested $30,000 and 2 months of my time on this. I should really see it through. I'm not sure that's always the case, especially when something else comes along that just is a better fit for the business. Now, that would be, I think, bad for people that have the shiny object syndrome, where they're constantly looking around for new projects to test out. But if that's not a problem for you, I think at least considering that can be important.
Yeah, that's smart. It's a smart way to deal with it. And so how do you, when a project then doesn't work out and you have to, at the next meeting, be like, no, we're shutting this project down. How do you, like, as a leader in the company, how do you deal with like being wrong and like making the wrong choice and pushing your team to do all this, putting that now, like you say, sunk cost of $30,000? How do you like admit that it was kind of a terrible idea and you were wrong about it?
Well, one of the things is, about like having a transparent business is it's not just externally, it's also internally. So with our management team, when we're talking through these things, it's very round table discussion. And so it's not, Joe and I raining down from on high what the next mission or directive is going to be. It's openly sharing kind of what you're working on and what you're having success or failure with. So, sometimes though, I'd have to say I'm working on a project and it's just a baby. And you have to, I think, as an entrepreneur, especially with partners or other people on your team that, rely on you, you have to be able to kill your baby. And that requires sometimes not having ego, right? Because a lot of times as entrepreneurs, our egos get in the way, or we start to think, you start to attach a project to either self-worth or business worth or value. And, not having that ego get in the way, I think, is helpful. If you can look at it objectively, that's very helpful.
Yeah, smart, man. Very, very smart. All right, Justin, this has been an absolute blast. I just want to wrap up with one final question for you, if we could. It's this idea I'm working with calling the entrepreneurial gap. So as entrepreneurs, as dreamers like you and I are, fortunately or unfortunately, we always, I think, put our success, we project it into the future, meaning that in 1 month, when you hit that revenue target, in 6 months, when you hit that other metric, in 1 year, when you get to hire your 50th employee, whatever it happens to be, that's when you'll see yourself as successful. Yet we both know that right before you hit that target, you're going to set 5 or 10 bigger, loftier ones into the future. And much like walking towards the horizon, the further you walk, the further away it always gets. So from the outside, we look very, very successful, yet from the inside, we're never quite there. So we live in this weird gap of just non-success always. So Justin, I would love it right now if you could stop, turn, and look behind you at all the highs, the lows, the wins, and the losses, but tell me how you feel about the journey up until today.
So it depends on where you catch me, right? So like, am I on one of the peaks or am I in one of the dips? And right now I'd say I feel fantastic. Like we're, I think, on a peak on our entrepreneurial roller coaster, right? So I'm feeling really good about where we've come. One of the points for me, which was great, is I was talking to my business partner. I said, look, buddy, we're never going to have to go work a job for someone again like that. We're never going to have to do that. We're at the point where we've crossed some kind of barrier. And I wasn't sure when it was, sometime in the last 6 months, 12 months, whatever. We're never going to have to do that again. And he wasn't so sure, right? He still was like, I'm not sure where our business is or where it's going to go, because in business and as entrepreneurs, you always have a shoe drop somewhere, right? You always think you're doing really, really well, and then you fall into some kind of dip or valley where you're like, oh my God, it's all coming crashing down. And that kind of feeds the entrepreneurial fallacy that you're an imposter, the imposter syndrome, right? So I've struggled with that in the past as an entrepreneur, where we're not really good enough, or this isn't really going to last, or this isn't a real business. And, I worry less about that now. I hope, I don't know, I say that, and then 6 months from now, I'm going to totally change I'm going to be like, oh my God, I'm not sure. But, yeah, I think getting over imposter syndrome has been kind of a longer journey. I think over time, it gets a little easier and a little easier. It's like getting over a breakup where it's like really difficult at first, but over time, you start to put that behind you and it becomes less of an issue.
Nice. I love it. And you're very, very, very correct on all that. So Justin, we've got to talk about your business in passing throughout the conversation, but could you now specifically tell the listener more about your business and where to track you down online?
Yeah, so our business is empireflippers.com. You can check us out. We also have a podcast called the Empire Flippers Podcast. I'm also a co-host of the podcast Web Equity Show. And what we do is we help people, other entrepreneurs, buy, sell, and invest in websites and online businesses. Anything from a $10,000 website up to a multi-million-dollar deal.
I love it. So empireflippers.com. Is the podcast at empireflippers.com/podcast?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. I'll link to both those in the show notes. And Justin, you are on Twitter, I believe, at justincooke.com or Justin Cooke?
No, at Empire Flippers.
At Empire Flippers. There we go. So I will link to all of those in the show notes for you. So once you're done working out, jogging, whatever it is you're doing right now, you'll be able to track down Empire Flippers and Justin. So once again, Justin, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. I really do truly appreciate it. And please, man, just keep doing what you're doing because it's awesome and inspiring to watch.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it, buddy.
That was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for joining me, Justin. I had the pleasure of meeting Justin back in June in Barcelona at a conference, and we started talking about selling websites, buying websites, and just business in general. And ever since then, we made a plan to have him on the show, and I'm glad we finally found a chance to talk. He's jumping back and forth around the world, It's hard to pin this guy down, but it was fun. And I thank him so much for sharing so openly. So we've reached the point in the show where I need to go back and go through the conversation again and find something that Justin said. So I went back, then I went back again, and then I went back one more time. The last time through the conversation, there was something that Justin said that was so very, very clear. It was that one thing. Did you get it? Did you hear it? Let's do it. Let's find the hack.
With our business, there are opportunities that we're not capitalizing all the time. So sometimes the thing you haven't tested or tried out may be the bigger opportunity, and it's worth not even continuing, right? So I don't buy the sunk cost that some entrepreneurs get into. They're like, I already invested $30,000 and 2 months of my time on this. I should really see it through. I'm not sure that's always the case, especially when something else comes along that just is a better fit for the business.
And that's the hack. Justin. I love this. This comment on sunk costs and how this $30,000 you might have spent on building out whatever this product is or this part of your business or this new business and these months of work, and not admitting to yourself the fact that that's a sunk cost and you can't get that back. And so in investing, this is like when you like buy a bunch of stocks and the stock plummets, and then you buy more and more and more and more because you have so much sunk into it already. You want to just better your investment, but that's typically throwing good money at bad. And so you can do the same thing with time. I was honored to get to meet and see Seth Godin speak a couple days ago here in Toronto. Funny story, I actually met him at a coffee shop, which was pretty cool. But he was talking about sunk costs and this idea that a sunk cost is something you've put in, whether it's time you've already spent on a degree or whether it's money or resources you've put into an idea. It's only a gift from yesterday, meaning that the slate is clean every single day. And if it still needs to be determined almost on a day-to-day basis, whether this project or this goal or this thing that you are doing is worth continuing to do further, and ignoring the fact of what you've put into it so far. Because that's how you get sort of terrible decision making, is when you are only focusing on what you've put in and all the resources, and that I can't quit now because I put so much into it, when really that should be irrelevant at this point. The only thing that should matter is that everything you've put into it up till today is a gift from yesterday, if and only if it's still the right thing to be doing and the right thing to be focusing on. Because I like how Justin says, he's like, there's always things in our business that we are probably not capitalizing and maximizing on because we haven't even yet explored that idea. And that could potentially be because you're focusing on the wrong thing and you went in the wrong direction, and you maybe iterate, and you're so focused on that sunk cost and not on what will actually move you and the needle forward. Justin, thank you so much. All right. Well, that was a lot of fun. HackTheEntrepreneur.com is the website. Get onto the email list because it's a good place for us all to just kind of hang out, you know? This has been fun. One episode ago, 2 episodes ago, I had the Going Deep episode again. And with Brian Kurtz, we talked digital marketing and we went just deep into that. No hacks, no anything, just literally going as deep as we can into a subject. That's the second time only we've done it. I would love your feedback on it. If you haven't had a chance, go back. It was last Friday, I believe, episode 270 or 271. It's called Going Deep, so you'll see it. And I would love to hear your feedback on that and deciding if we should go further. Some marketing, maybe some product development, maybe how to choose ideas. I'll find an expert for each of the topics and we'll go deep just on that specific topic. Let me know what you think. I'm on Twitter, John Naster, or get on that email list and hit reply to any of the messages that come to you and tell me. I'd love to hear from you. All right. It's been fun. Thank you so much for joining me. And please, until next time, keep hacking the entrepreneur.